Hello and welcome, Star Wars fans, to this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks, a show where debate takes so hot that they'd melt a planet with twin suns. My name's Brody, and tonight I am joined by my co host Amanda as we attempt to discover what story is truly the best from a galaxy far, far away. On this week's episode, we're going to be discussing ranks and hot takes from the Clone Wars Season 1, Episodes 6 and 7. By the end of this episode, we'll have a definitive answer on where these pieces of Star Wars content rank amongst the rest. With that, Amanda, you are gone. You are not here.
I am not in the studio. And let me just say, from where we did record last week.
Yeah.
From where we were last week, your backdrop looks pretty nice.
It's coming together. I actually had someone reach out to me last week. They're like, your Star Wars stuff was down. I'm like, yeah, like the DeWalt drill was up. And I'm like, yep, it was under construction. And so this is kind of like a fun in between right now where you're like, it's still not fully done. But for the folks who do pay attention to our studio, they're just know it's coming together and we have a completely new vibe coming together for you. So really excited about that.
Yeah, very cool. And yeah, I am also traveling the world. My voice is a little raspy still.
Singing Beyonce.
I don't know if it's coming through. So yeah, I saw my girlfriend Beyonce. You may have heard of her. She's been on tour. She is just this girl from Houston, Texas that is, kind of the greatest entertainer of our lifetime. So I saw her perform at Nashville last weekend, and she performs this weekend in Chicago, and I will be seeing her again, which I am very excited about.
Yeah, that's so crazy. I probably already told you this, but I told you my cousin went to high school with her, right?
No.
Yeah.
That's right, because you have family in Texas, right?
Yeah, he's from Houston, and he's just like, I'm like, yeah, what was that like to go to high school with Beyonce? And he's like, it's just really funny because like she's just like everybody else. Like, well, you wouldn't think like that, there's like a lot of high school athletes where you're like, this person, like this is the person that's going to Beyonce.
To put Beyonce into your terms, Brody, Beyonce is the LeBron of everything, of
everything,
of singing and songwriting and producing and coordinating and
of all of it,
performing. Yeah, entertaining across the board.
Yeah.
Oh, Beyonce. And while I'm on the topic, while I was in Nashville, I also talked to some new Duel of the Ranks listeners. So it was cool to connect with. Shout out to Jake in Nashville, and I forgot the other guy's name. Whoops.
And we lost him. We had him and we lost him.
It'll come to me. I just have we were just talking about Beyonce, so I have one other brain cell bumping around in my head right now.
Now, when you were out there, did you get to try the hot chicken sandwich from what's the place out there everyone loves?
No, because there is more food in Nashville than hot chicken sandwiches. I don't know if people knew that. But we had a great time. I can barely remember what happened last week.
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, speaking of things that are hard to remember, let's go ahead and talk about these last two episodes of the Clone Wars. Amanda, what happened?
Okay, so we viewed episode 6 and episode 7. Episode 6 is called Downfall of a Droid. R2-D2 is lost during a fierce space battle, and Anakin, along with Ahsoka and a replacement droid, R3-S6, must find him before the Separatists discover the Jedi military secrets locked in R2's memory banks. And then part 2, because of course they don't find him by the end of the episode, Anakin, Ahsoka, and R3-S6 embark on a dual rescue/sabotage mission when they discover R2 is being held at General Grievous' secret enemy listening post. Sounds exciting.
Yeah, tell me, what did you honestly think of this arc? The R3 arc.
Okay, well, Well, first of all, I did while I was combing through some research trying to understand why this particular episode looked like garbage.
Yeah.
I discovered that that this was actually the second Clone Wars episode ever produced. And
Oh
because like
wow.
the first episode became part of like the Clone Wars movie, so this represents the earliest animation that will be seen in the series. So that kind of makes sense why it feels like it's almost like an unfinished storyboard in some ways.
Yeah, that is exactly what it felt like. And there are moments where, like, I think it was one of the opening moments of one of the episodes where Anakin, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan are talking, and it feels almost like it's like a Japanese film where stuff's being dubbed, where he's like, "We have to go save him." Obi-Wan's like, "No." Ahsoka's like, "Wait, you have to be careful." He's like, "No, we have to save him." Obi-Wan's like,
Yeah.
"No, this is not a rescue mission." Click. Like, just like this is very like it's not natural dialogue at all. And it was also really funny because like yeah, Ahsoka just loves R3, which in of itself is fine, right? She's an innocent
She's
character
like
at this point.
she's like, "He's gold, like, who doesn't want, like, a gold droid?" I
There
get
was
it.
no reason that she loved him though, besides the fact
Yeah.
to be devil's advocate for Anakin.
Y
And so for that reason, it's like I could see why more people found her annoying at this point because she's so like naive and everything.
yeah.
But again, I would argue that even though she's obviously they wrote her to be more annoying in this case, she's still not written well at this point. There's not a reason
I
she
mean,
had.
nobody is, really.
Yeah,
Like,
there's
I would say the most, why I docked the character, especially in, this episode, okay, so Anakin is flying and doing an attack, and all of a sudden, like, he blacks out and he wakes up in recovery. And when we wake up, I don't know if it was like meant to be this way, but it was really blown out on my screen. Was that the same for you? It was like
yeah.
all I was like, is this part of the trauma, the head injury that he had?
Oh yeah.
Um, and he finds out that R2 is gone and he's like, hmm, that was
Yeah.
it. Like, Anakin, control your emotions.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah, yeah.
be so traumatized by your droid being missing.
Now I do want to say a character that while he does feel extremely cartoony and kind of dumb, I do love that they still have the same voice actor who did General Grievous from Revenge of the Sith, and his character every time he's on screen, I find him at least somewhat interesting. I did enjoy the scenes where you had, and in the first episode, I did rank the immersive universe really high. They had a lot of interesting elements where they brought in those IG-88 type model droids, those bounty hunter droids. They had you did have like the Force theme that was played at the very end, which I thought was kind of funny. Like, we're gonna get our 2D2 back, and then it was the Force theme, which I'm like, it's a very weird time to play that because it's a droid. But hey, like they really you're saying it's the second episode they produced. They put a lot of Star Wars stuff and baked
Yeah.
elements into that. You had that eyeball as they were trying to go onto that junk ship, that thing that's reminiscent
Mhm.
of Return of the Jedi. As it pulls back in. And
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of the stuff felt like Return of the Jedi in that episode and stuff from the sequels. So, or the originals at that point. But anyway, yeah, besides that, I didn't rank any of the categories very high.
I did rank, like, you had mentioned the music, and especially last week you had mentioned the music, so I was like, "Okay, I gotta pay a little bit closer attention," and, um, this week I did, and there was, like, some real funky music going on.
Yeah,
Oh, is the camera out? Okay.
I'm here. You
Okay.
can't see me, but I'm here.
Okay, nice. But, there was, like, some really funky music, like, going on with the droid battles and stuff like that, so I thought it was fun. Let's see, what else did I put down? Oh, I also want to keep I think this is a great time to establish an R2 kill count, because this is the first kills that our buddy R2 gets, and I know quite a bit in the series, so I kind of want to see if we can track them all.
Yeah, notch him up, compare him to Anakin or
Yeah.
something.
So he has his first kill in episode 6, where he flushes that IG unit out of the airlock. And then in episode 7, he obviously like gets rid of R3. So that's cool. And you were kind of talking about those IG droids. I looked it up. It's an IG 100 Magna Guard in that
Wow.
second
Okay.
episode with like the fighting like spears or whatever.
Oh, I'm talking about the ones that are on the junk ship that are like IG-88, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, those. Yeah, yeah. So I was gonna say if they're related to that Magna Guard tech, that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, maybe they are. Maybe there's some sort of
But
relationship
there
there
were
too.
Magna Guards in that second episode.
Which, they were cut down like butter by Anakin. But also I was curious too. It seemed like Ahsoka was semi able to hold her own against Grievous,
Yeah.
which really means like it's a good thing that Anakin didn't find Grievous because wow, like I mean, I'm not saying like Ahsoka did a great job, but Grievous with 2 lightsabers was not easily overpowering her like he did the clones.
Yeah. And it's interesting that she gets to fight Grievous so soon in her like career. She's still
Yeah.
so young, but even in this episode, she was like calling out orders. She was like, "Rex, that's an order." And I was like, "Can a Padawan does
Yeah,
she
that's a call
have
out.
that much power over him?"
I don't know how I honestly, I would be pretty bothered, I think, if I were a
Yeah.
clone, you know, equivalent of like my 40s or something, right? And here's this 13-year-old who I don't care if you're Jedi Padawan, whatever.
I'm not listening to anything a 13-year-old tells me to do.
Yeah, it's like, come on, guys, go in there. What
Hey,
was
go
it?
do this military strategy I just came up with.
Yeah, and what was it? She told him to throw like the droid explosives, whatever, like droid bombs. And again, they respond so enthusiastically, like droid bombs
Like,
away.
got it.
Yeah, which is like
It's
great,
cute.
but
It's cute. I
yeah,
mean,
but I'm also like, if that were me and I were Rex, I would not be enthralled with the idea of a 13-year-old leading the charge.
yeah.
And then yeah, like if it
But
doesn't go well, yeah,
that's
she's
why we love
13.
Rex because he is not emasculated by such things.
It's less about even being emasculated and more that it's just like I refuse to believe any 13-year-old. Like, you're a prodigy. If you're a 13-year-old leading military strategy, lives are on the line. And also, by the way, she's totally winging it. So that furthers my case that she should not be leading this unit of like adult soldiers because she's totally playing by ear. And
Yeah.
I feel like I'll save this for the hot takes, but that's a great way to get people killed. Is the way Ahsoka and Anakin, like, if you want an authentic Clone Wars episode, I feel like like you'd have a million Rexes constantly dying off, and it's Ahsoka and Anakin at the end of the episode being like, where'd they all go? Where's where's the five? Why do the 501st continually have everyone die? It's like, well, because they have no plan, no strategy. They don't coordinate as a team. They just run in guns ablazing, and they're the only Jedi. So their clones always die.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That would be an average Clone Wars episode for me.
So where did these ones end up ranking for us?
Well, not high. Let's take a look here. If we look down, I'm so far away from my computer today. It looks like 49.2% for episode 6 and 50.1%. Woo, for episode 7. So the first,
Rough.
yeah, I know. So overall, Clone Wars arcs, the first one we did was the Malevolence arc, which was a 53%. This arc, which was the R3S6 arc, was a 49.65%. So looking at the full show rankings, the first season of Clone Wars right now, we have at a 54.71%. So it's It's not doing too hot.
Got room to improve. It's got room to improve.
Yeah, it's currently the lowest rated Star Wars show yet. But hey, it's going to get better. We know it's going to get better. We know what's coming. We're excited for what's coming. So
Yeah.
we'll keep tuning in. We'll keep tuning in. But anyway, I don't know. What was your favorite part of this episode? Now, we gotta pull something positive out of this, because otherwise KG's never going to watch it. She's sitting here in the comments. She said she was going to watch it this week, but then she got busy. Now she's saying to us in the comments that the week went by too fast. She didn't watch it. And now she's listening to us talk about it. If we don't say something good, she's not going to watch any of these episodes.
Well, I love R2, and I love when R2 gets to kill. So R2 getting like 2 back-to-back kills in these episodes is pretty dope. And yeah, that makes it good. But we were kind of discussing we were kind of discussing right before we went live about how we should also add in like is this the essential, like give it a ranking as far as, is this an essential piece of Clone Wars watching, or is this one that you skip? And I think we're going to say this is one that you can skip past. So then by the end of this, we'll have like a shortened, like the Duel of the Ranks selects. Do you remember when McDonald's had the chicken selects on their menu?
No.
And it was like nicer chicken nuggets. They had like breading and they're like a little more crunchy to it.
Oh yeah.
It was for a limited time, but we're going to find the chicken selects of the Clone Wars.
Our own little McDonald's. That's what we are. We're the McDonald's of Star Wars content creators.
Yeah.
Just very average.
We'll get to the Big Mac. We got to work up to it though.
We're going to work our way up. No fine dining on this podcast. This is very lowbrow. Get your McDouble and get out. I went to McDonald's today. I gotta say, I really enjoy McDonald's.
It's in some cases, in some ways, you can say it's the best restaurant in the world, because wherever you go, you're always going to get exactly what you ordered. When you go to McDonald's and you're like, I'm going to get a cheeseburger or a Big Mac, you know what you're getting.
Yeah, but I would say In-N-Out Burger does that more efficiently. It just tastes better.
But they don't have the franchise. They're not as reliable. You can get a Big Mac anywhere in the world.
You can.
They've got to figure it out.
No, listen. Here's my problem with Switzerland, okay? So.
Oh, no. Okay, we're getting off the rails.
There's no Christian anymore to hold me in line. He's gone. I can say what's on my mind.
It sounds like we're getting into hot take, if I'm being honest.
Well, the problem is nothing happened in this episode, so it's very hard for me to actually have a hot take from this episode. But I've got one, and we'll call it milk toast. But before we do, when we were in Switzerland, I was with Christian. May he rest in peace, because he left the show, so he's dead to us. But when we were there, I took my family to get a McDonald's meal. It normally in the States costs about $20 to do so. In Switzerland, $66. $66 for McDonald's.
US dollars?
Yeah, US dollars. Yes.
Well, wow.
Yes. Now, I don't even know what to say. It was the most beautiful McDonald's I ever walked in. Just like Switzerland, everything there is just gorgeous, beautiful. It tasted amazing, but expensive as all get out. That's Switzerland. So, yeah. Now the audience knows, go to Switzerland, but save before you go, because
you're
not coming back.
If you McDonald's.
Yeah, especially, and that was McDonald's. I was like, if we're doing this at McDonald's, I don't even want to know what like a normal restaurant is. So I guess we'll just stick with Amanda's take and just stick with the best restaurant in the world. And at the beginning of this show, when we started Duel of the Ranks, I said Star Wars is just the McDonald's of the entertainment industry. So does that mean that by that logic that McDonald's is the best restaurant in the world? That Star Wars,
also
storyline,
and maybe it's my nostalgia too, because like McDonald's was kind of its best when I was a kid, and you could like get the toys with it now. And now, like, their toys are like more modern and they're like boring and stuff. And that's kind of like the POV that every Star Wars fan has too, where they're like, oh, it just hit better when I was a kid. Well, duh, because McDonald's is made for kids. And when I eat a number 10 with mustard and a Diet Coke, it tastes like my childhood. So I am taken back to that time in my life.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't eat a whole lot of McDonald's in my childhood, so it doesn't give me that. I do remember though, because obviously I produce a lot of media stuff. I remember like doing one of my first video gigs when I was like 16, and I got like $500 for it. And I was just like, this is insane. Like all my friends are working at like Panda Express for $10 an hour, or whatever, and I just did like this video for this guy. And look at this. And
Money.
all I did that whole summer was just play basketball, play video games, and use that $500 to go to McDonald's and get it was like they had the dollar menus.
$500 worth of McDonald's.
It lasted so long. And like I
Amazing.
got to the end, I'm like, oh crap, I need to make another video. I'm almost out of money. I need more McDonald's. And so yeah, I did that for like a solid year.
A side
And
hustle to feed your McDonald's addiction.
yeah, and to this day, I'm like, I still love it. I really do. So anyway, so yeah, we're not and it looks like, yeah, in the comments here, I only get McDonald's for the kids. So why is that? Why do you disdain McDonald's? And
Okay. A little off the rails, but maybe we can transition into hot takes, right?
yeah, I mean, look, I'm not even trying this one. We're gonna do what we're gonna do. And if the audience loves it, they love it. And if they hate it, well, please stay. We
I have only the lighting of my screen to get me through this recording. So
Oh, that's so funny. All right. Well, I guess with that, hot takes time.
Don't be too proud of this podcast you've constructed. The ability to rank content is insignificant next to the power of an exceptional hot take.
All right. I have got a few hot takes here. The first hot take is that at this point in the Clone Wars, we're like, almost halfway into the first season. And I would say there's not a single, if you're only watching the Clone Wars at this point, there's not a single likable character, I would argue, at all, amongst any of them. Not a one likable character. Not dislikable either. Just nothing to care for.
I think that some people might think that's a hot take. I don't think it's that hot of a take. Unfortunately, I'm not one of them.
All
But
right.
I think R2 is likable.
Yeah, I mean, he's easy enough to write because he doesn't have lines. So
Exactly.
goes.
So how do you not like him? Yeah,
That goes
he's a
in his
great
favor.
sidekick. Yeah, I'm gonna say it's kind of milquetoast.
I also I do feel like Grievous is the best character to this point.
So you also disagree with yourself.
Like he's not likable. I don't want to preface that. Like he's not a great character.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
He's the best of a bad bunch. Ultimately.
Yeah, he's a good villain.
And he's not a good villain. He's just
Okay, he's a fun villain.
yeah, he's carrying the load, and he's that Power Rangers villain.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's over the top, ridiculous, and you fool, I will destroy you. Like,
Yeah, he's
man.
so dramatic.
Yeah, everything.
It was like he was a thespian in an earlier life, like a performer.
Yeah. Oh, totally. He was never
Yeah.
a fighter. He was a dancer.
Yeah.
That's Grievous.
Yeah, he was a interpretive dancer, like a modern dance.
All right.
You fool! Your take is milk toast.
All right. Do you have a hot take?
Kind of. kind of a hot take. Let's see. Okay, we're gonna get
We got to
political.
Ooh, all right, bring it.
Okay, so there's a great transition into this. So, God knocked the Trandoshan scavenger guy from this episode, right?
Yeah.
He is voiced by Ron Perlman. Do you know who Ron Perlman is, the
No.
actor? Oh, Ron Perlman. He's been in many things, but he's most recently been in the news for going on a rant on his social media where he calls out Bob Iger for the things that he said, like waiting until the writers and actors lose their houses and apartments so they can finally get over the strike. And Ron Perlman just like goes on this rant and he was like, dude, I wouldn't be saying that
guy.
when we can like find where you live, dude. You know? He's like, come for us. We can come for you. And you know, good on you, Ron Perlman. But it brings up a good point because right now we've been kind of talking about the strike a little bit here and there, as we've been discussing like upcoming Star Wars shows and how that might impact what will be available later this year or next year. I think, well, first off, there are places online that we can look at the SAG-AFTRA strike, and you can look at their demands and what they're asking for. It's incredibly reasonable. Totally support the strike. I am pro-union up and down. We want these people to get the praise and the pay that they deserve. However, at this time, the SAG is not asking for a generalized boycott. So as far as like Duel of the Ranks is concerned, we are not affiliated with the union. We are losing money doing this podcast. So we are not sponsored or unionized in any fashion. But so it doesn't really, like, we can still kind of keep covering our content as we plan to until like we hear an update. Like if the strikers call for us to boycott watching any new series or talking about it, we will wait until we hear that call. But until then, I know that some people have been discussing whether or not they should do cosplays or cover any of the new content that's coming out, and totally respect whatever people decide. But I feel like we are good to just keep rolling as of now.
Yeah. Which is, we'll see what that does. I know there's a lot of our Star Wars podcast compatriots who are not going to be covering Ahsoka at all for that reason. And hey, respect your choices for anyone who makes the decision to or to not cover it. But as of right now, yeah, we plan on covering Ahsoka when it comes out because we're going to be watching it. And the writers did put time and effort into it. And if you're not asking us to not boycott it, then we're not going to boycott it. So we'll actually talk about the work you put into it.
I'm trying to get them at least a couple pennies that they do get for my watching of it.
Yeah, and if I completely go in and be like the writing was terrible, then that should hopefully just benefit your case and just say like, see, we were put
yeah, it means that they should be paying the writers more. And yeah, yes, absolutely. So as we critique and go on to watch Ahsoka, know that we are always like in support of the writers and actors.
No. I do not support actors. So let's just get the record straight. The writers I support.
Stop.
The directors I support. Those actors, let me tell you about those filthy. No, I'm kidding. Actors are fine. Actors are fine. All right.
But
well, okay. With
don't
that,
even get me started on podcasters.
Yeah, podcast. Just let me tell you. Yeah, I don't know. I guess because this episode, there's not really a whole lot to cover from the story element. Again, it was about getting back R2D2. The only thing I do want to say that I guess does warrant conversation. How dumb do you think Anakin is to not wipe the memory of R2D2, where he had every strategy of the Republic built into his system processors, and Anakin just let it slide?
Honestly, that is the most relatable thing about Anakin Skywalker because I am terrified of emptying my trash can on my desktop. Like, I feel like I know I put a file, like, on the cloud, I put it there, I delete it, but I just let that thing fill up until my computer has no more space, and then I still have to go through meticulously and be like, "Can I actually empty everything out in here?" And it brings me so much anxiety, so I get it, personally.
I just delete recklessly.
So you're the Obi-Wan in this scenario.
Just got to get rid of it. Got to get rid of it.
But
No
I
record.
might need it, you know?
You know, are you a hoarder?
No, but
Just a recycled
Jake might
hoarder.
say otherwise. Jake might be like, I have too many clothes and stuff.
Yeah. It is funny though, because we like recently moved and like we move into a bigger space and you're like, oh, we have so much stuff. And you move into a bigger space and you're like,
I don't have anything.
I don't have anything. We need more stuff to fill this place.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I get you. I get you. I don't know. I feel like, yeah, I understand like personally why Anakin would do that, but that's wild. And what's even funnier to me is at the end of this episode, like they get him back, but Obi-Wan's not demanding, like, okay, you're gonna like wipe his memory now, right?
Yeah. They're just like, all right, don't lose him.
Yep, don't lose him again, because we don't want to go through that again. Like, but shouldn't we like wipe his memory so we don't have to worry about that? Like, no, we got him back, but hey, don't do it again.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Anyway,
Just smack him on his hand. Be like, knock it off.
yeah, R2, don't get
Gotta keep
shot
him
out
on one of
space
those like
again.
kitty leashes, so he doesn't stray too far away.
Here's the other thing I want to talk about this episode. Understand R3, his errors weren't just egregious.
They were obvious.
And let's exclude the obvious for a second. They were not only egregious, but they were so repetitive and they happened so many times. I don't blame R3. I fully blame Anakin for pulling him along in that point. And now someone could say, well, you need an
He didn't
astromech.
he didn't want it. He kind of was like forced to take it.
Which, did he need to take him along any farther than now? Maybe to argue, you could say, well, he didn't know and he kept hoping it would get better, but there was that moment where he's like, all right, we need to activate the hyperdrive, and he disconnects it. I'm like, that right there, that would be the event that got me done. Like, no, we're done, R3. We don't have a relationship anymore. We're not a thing. You're no longer bae. You gotta go and kick R3 to the curb. So, like, you almost died, and he still brought him along for more and more and more. So I kind of put that on Anakin. I refuse to believe you wouldn't have any support. So for him to get another astromech. But anyway, I don't know. All right. Well, that's my grievances with this week's episode. Overall, I still love the show Clone Wars. And KG, you gotta see it. You just gotta see it.
No, we ranked this arc as being skippable. So
you could skip this one, but you gotta see it.
you gotta see it, but skip it.
Yeah, you can skip these two, but just catch up. You're gonna need to, because we're gonna come into some really cool stuff and it's gonna blow your mind. So anyway, all right. Well, with that, that's this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks. It's a fast one, not a whole lot to talk about, but we've got some pretty cool stuff we're gearing up for with Ahsoka, so be on the lookout for that. We've got a Ahsoka bingo that's going to be coming up, so we'll let you know when we got that.
And
Otherwise,
our 100th episode is coming out.
Oh yeah, I've got a special couple of things we're releasing for that 100th episode, so be on the lookout for that too. Anyway, thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks, and we look forward to seeing you again next week for more of the same with the Clone Wars. Except this next week, we're going to give them perfect ratings. Maybe. We'll see.
We'll see.
All right. See you then.